Hey, babe. What are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about Black Santas, and I'm so excited because, well, I always start with I'm so excited, but I really genuinely am always so excited about our guests because I just love our guests. And today we have Jacqueline Rodgers, who is the founder of Greentop Gifts. And I'm really thrilled because everything that Greentop Gifts does is for Black and Brown families. And so we are going into the holiday season. This is the time to get your wrapping paper. Don't show up at Target 3 days before Christmas, y'all. What are you doing? You're not going to get the wrapping paper and all the bows and all the things that you want. Okay. You need to be doing that in October. I'm pretty much done. All right. You know me, OCD, type A, neurotic. I'm done. I got all the things I need. Our Christmas jammies are in the drawer.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't even know.
But you're welcome. But if you don't have your life together, okay, then you
That's
can
harsh.
go and buy all the Greentop gifts and wrapping papers and family jammies and all the things with Black and Brown Santa and faces on them. So I'm so excited. Jackie, thank you for being with us today to talk about Greentop Gifts and Black Santa and all the things. I'm so thrilled.
Thanks so much for having me, you guys.
Okay, let's get into this bio so that you know a little bit more about Jacqueline, and then we'll get into the first money memory because we like to keep it consistent. But let's get into it. Backed by her 14 years of consumer packaged goods experience, Jacqueline Rodgers founded Greentop Gifts with a purpose to create products that represent what the holidays look like for Black and Brown families. Jacqueline and Greentop Gifts have been leading the charge of diversity in classic holiday imagery and have gone on to be recognized as one of the 2021 Google for Startups Black Founders Fund recipients, a 2021 FedEx Small Business Grant winner, and an NFLPA Playmaker. Since its launch, Greentop Gifts has received notable media attention from numerous outlets, including Essence, the Oprah Magazine, Good Housekeeping, and People. Jacqueline embarked on her entrepreneurial journey in order to add much needed diversity and representation to consumer goods. She has a degree in business administration from Clark Atlanta University. I saw you at homecoming. And currently serves as a mentor for Atlanta Tech Stars. She is married to Sean Rodgers, and together they have a 9-year-old son, Kenneth Elijah, and a 4-year-old daughter, Cameron Ellis. Welcome, Jackie. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. We're going to get into all the Greentop Gifts and where this idea came from, and then get into your business journey. First, we want to know about your first money memory.
My first funny money memory, I would say, is my uncle who had this magic trick where he would pull quarters out of my ear. And I think that as a small kid, that's probably my first time being like, oh, money can come out of your ears. You can have it. And my uncle is the magician. That would probably be the first one as a really young kid. The second one, I would say, where I really started to understand money and like buying things, getting money, counting money, was when I sold Girl Scout cookies in kindergarten. Okay. That is when I was like, oh, this is how this works. I have a whole bunch of money and I have collected, and people gave it to me and they want cookies, and like counting it and being responsible for it. So that would probably be the one that made the most sense to
See, I was a Cub Scout. I always felt that we got the short end of the stick because we had to sell popcorn,
me.
and you guys got
Popcorn.
and you guys
Nobody
got
wants
the girl.
popcorn.
Yeah, nobody wanted popcorn. It was overpriced popcorn that wasn't even that good. And then the Girl Scouts get the cookies.
You know, and it hasn't improved. You guys are still selling popcorn.
They're trying to stick with that consistency model, but I don't know if it's working.
No, because
I don't
nobody
think
buys
so.
the popcorn.
Nobody.
Not nobody.
Did you realize that you don't get to keep the money and that it was going to the boxes of cookies and then the Girl Scouts?
Yes,
Or
and I realized
okay.
that I was selling the most, and my dad had an entrepreneurial spirit, was an entrepreneur, and so we had the town on lock. Okay, I was all of downtown, all the businesses. I sold all the cookies. I had a whole system, and I was so excited to get the badge for top cookie seller because we sold a lot of cookies. So
Yeah.
for me, I understood I couldn't keep it, but I knew there was reward if I sold a lot and got a lot of money.
I love the quarters out of the ears, because like who doesn't love that? And then the business side of it of like, okay, I'm selling, people are giving me money, I'm exchanging it for a product, and I get an accolade, right? If I do this really
Yeah,
well. So that's a lot of valuable lessons wrapped in one. So go
it
Girl Scout.
definitely was.
Yeah. Okay, let's go into Greentop and the start of that journey, because just for reference, Jackie's husband Sean is a former boss of mine. Shout out to Sean, great leader, great mentor. And he was telling me about what you guys were doing in the very beginning, and it just sounded so inspiring, so exciting, so necessary, right? Like Santas everywhere are white. It's a white face and a white beard and a red hat. And so when he was telling us about what you're working on and the wrapping paper, I was like, oh my gosh, how is this not a thing, right? Like it was probably, I don't know, 2018,
16,
2019 at the
yeah.
time. And I was like, how do we not have black Santas on
Yes.
our wrapping paper?
So if you're someone that got upset over the Little Mermaid being black,
Ugh.
or you get upset about a black Santa Claus,
Yeah.
go ahead and turn off this episode.
Yeah, because this
You
is
can
not
log
for
off.
you.
Log
Yeah,
off.
we don't want you here. Okay, bye. So I just remember like him just bragging about you in the office and just being really proud of what you were doing. So tell us where the idea came from and how you turned it into a tangible product.
Of course, I will definitely let Sean know that you said he's an awesome boss. So
He
that
knows
he
that.
doesn't feel
He knows
that way. So I'll let him know. But no, it really started with, I love the holidays. Growing up, my mom was super intentional about making sure we had Black angels, Black nativity scenes, Black Santas. And a lot of the products didn't exist. So she was literally painting them with markers, with acrylic paint, whatever my mom could find to make sure we had representation. She did it. So for me in my house, it was the standard. It was required. Like I was accustomed to it. So once I had my son, I wanted to kind of have those same memories and moments with him. And there were figurines. You could find a few of those ceramics, but not wrapping paper, not pajamas. There was a limited amount of items that were in the space. And so I'm a crafty person. I'm always starting some obnoxiously expensive hobby with crafts that my husband hates. Well, I would say he hates. He's like, "Oh, what are you doing now? What are you
Here
buying?
we
What
go
are you
again.
making? What are you making?" So I kind of came to him. We were watching Sports Center or PTI, and I was like, "I think I'm gonna like go to Kinko's and make some wrapping paper, and then I might sell it." And he was like, "Okay." And that was it. That was the end of the conversation. Like he was like, "This is another activity." Then I was like, "Okay, I have found a manufacturer. They're gonna deliver an 18-wheeler is gonna deliver 2 pallets of product to our garage. We gotta move our cars out of the garage." And he was like, "Wait a minute, huh?" And so then I am the creative. My husband is a finance background, so he's like, he has questions. Explain this to me. Make it make sense. Show me the
Is there a
numbers.
spreadsheet? Yep.
Give me a spreadsheet, ROI. He wants to know all the size of the market, size of all of that. What are the
Always showing
margins?
off that MBA of his, you know?
Oh yeah. So he's gonna like, I'm like glitter, confetti, and he's like, what's the ROI? So we're a great match for that.
I was
So
going to
that was
say,
kinda
that makes
how
a really good pair. Yeah.
it makes a good pair. So that was kind of how we started the business. 2 SKUs. I shipped orders out of the garage. I wanted it in 15 and launched the business in 16. So it really came from a need of wanting my son to see diverse images.
I love that.
It's so interesting that you were saying that like your mom used to paint the different figurines and stuff, because my grandmother used to I remember we like once I got old enough to kind of like comprehend stuff, she had choir boys that she would like, put out during the holidays, big ones to put in the yard, and one of them was painted brown. And I was like, where did you find a brown one? She's like, painted this. So it's kind of funny you because we were doing the same thing also.
Yes. Your grandmother knew. She wanted you to see a brown little choir boy, of course.
All the best businesses come out of necessity, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You have much more of a passion for it. Oh,
Yes.
you have a lot more invested in regards to that you want to do when it comes out of something that you just genuinely are interested
Yeah, and really in the beginning, when I first started looking for it, and I was asking my friends like in DC and Detroit and Chicago, areas that had a large, more than Cary, like more Black people than Cary. I was like, "Can you look for this? Do you see it?" And my friends were like, "What are you working on? Because I'm not sure what you're working on, but I think I want whatever it is." And so that was kind of what they were saying. But for me, I didn't want to start a website. I really just wanted it for Eli at the time. It wasn't something I was going to like monetize. So once I started doing the work and understanding and focus groups with other moms, I was like, oh, other people want this too. It's not just my house.
I love that. Okay, let's take it back to Kinko's because that already tells us a time frame. Okay, I mean, is Kinko's, do they even exist anymore? I don't.
No, and I still call it that, but and I'm a FedEx partner. I'm sure they're not happy with that. But FedEx Kinko's, FedEx Print Shop, but that I'm telling my age now. Kinko's is what FedEx was before it was FedEx Print.
Yeah, Kinko's, guys, is a store that you could go into and you could like ask them to print things and mail things and ship things. Yeah.
Yeah.
For anybody who's,
Like maybe born in like
the 2000s
Yeah.
listening.
2000, kids born in 2000 are listening.
They don't know
I
what a
applaud
Kinko's
that.
is. Yeah. Thank you for
They're in
listening.
the car. They're being forced to listen to me maybe by their parents.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Thanks, Mom and Dad. So you went to Kinko's, you created, how did you even create your prototype? Was it like clip art? Walk us through that. I want like beginning.
Okay, so I knew what I wanted him to like in my mind. I knew I wanted him to be jolly. I wanted him to resonate with adults and children. I wanted him to look magical, and I wanted him to look brown. I wanted you to see him and any question about what the Santa was. And I wanted his nose to be full. I wanted his cheeks to be jolly and red. I knew how I wanted his hair to look. So in my mind, I could see it. I do not draw. I have taken drawing classes now that I've started this business, and I have done a lot more understanding of the technical and Illustrator and Procreate and all of the online software so that I can better articulate my thoughts to the graphic designers that I work with. But I'm not an artist at all. So for me, I know what I wanted to look like and I can kind of explain it. So I took other images of people, real people, of Santas I like, elements of different things. And then I sent it all to the graphic designer who was in Ghana at the time. And I said, this is what I wanted to look like. Now, backing up, I found him after looking at hundreds of people's portfolios on. Like I would just scroll and comb the internet looking at artists and their work and trying to find someone who was similar to the aesthetic that I want. They may not even drew, humans. They may have just drawn animals. But if I thought they could get me there, I reached out. So I reached out to him and told him what I was working on. And he's like, send me a deposit. And I was like, okay, can I PayPal you? And he's like, we don't have PayPal here. Can you use Western Union?
Okay, we're dating ourselves again. Although Western Union does still exist.
It's still around. Look for Cash App and Zelle. It was Western Union. And you had to actually go into a store to do it. You cannot do it through a cell phone. It was invented before cell phone.
Correct.
So I have to find a Western Union. I go to Walmart. Western Union wire money to a person I've never met before across the world. Okay.
I'm very nervous.
And I said, either I'm getting scammed or this is going to be great. One of the two. But it's a risk, a small amount of money, but a large enough for me to be like, I hope this is a real person.
It could be.
And I sent it to him. You said, right. A prince, a Nigerian prince who just happens to have money for me. So I sent him the money and he sent me back images. And on the first iteration of it, it was perfect. We made very minor detail changes. And that's when I was like, this is it. Like, this is coming to life. And that's how Clarence Claus kind of came to me as an image.
Oh my gosh, what a fantastic story. Okay. So you get your images from your prince and I had to put that in there. And then you go to Kinko's. Kinko's prints your paper.
And I didn't quite go to Kinko's. So from there, after Kinko's, I work with other artists and designers to kind of like, it's a pattern, a repeating pattern, right? So for gift wrap, you got to get it right. So at this point, I found a manufacturer that I like. And I found enough on YouTube University to understand the terms and to talk intelligently about the manufacturing of gift wrap. I had enough knowledge to be dangerous, very dangerous. Okay. So I called him, pretended like I knew what I was talking about. And this guy took a great chance on me. And he was like, okay, yeah. And so he filled in the gaps and the holes for the things I didn't understand and explained it to me. It took a lot of patience with me. He sent me a template. He said, send me your design. We'll make you a mock-up and a print. So I did that, got the design, never had to go to Kinko's, thankfully. I sent him, well, I actually went to Kinko's and printed it off before I sent it to him so I could see it in big form.
Okay.
And then I sent it to him. He sent me back a sample in the mail, and I was like, this is perfect. And then I paid him, and 2 pallets of paper showed up at my house a few months later.
I love it. Okay. So also I want to address the fact that you're still working full time while doing all of this on the side. I'm assuming before work, after work, lunch breaks, you're just not
Weekends.
sleeping anymore at this point, right?
You
Yes,
also are, at this
it
point in
was.
time, you also have kids. I mean, like you have kids, so for
I had a
Yeah.
it's
kid.
also occupied.
Yes. Yes, I have one. One is a whole lot easier than 2. I'll say that. Okay. And my
But you only
first,
know that
my
after you have
son,
two.
Yeah.
and my son he is like even keel, super chill. Now, and my daughter, this business would have never happened if I had her too. Okay. Like the second kid, woo, there's
No,
something else.
we
Those
know.
second kids, they're gangsters.
They are.
So, yeah, I was working full time. I say I double dutched. I was working on the business at night. I would stay up to the point where it'd be 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and my husband would wake up and be like, close the laptop. So I literally was designing our website, taking photos of the product, doing the marketing, creating every aspect, because it was just me. Like I couldn't afford to do any more. And so I wanted it to happen so badly that holiday. And I felt like I kept saying all the time, ideas have expiration dates. I heard that quote somewhere, and if I don't get this out now, it's not perfect, but it's not terrible. But if I don't get this out now, it's bad. And so that's why I was so adamant about launching the business. And so, yeah, I was working full time, traveling for work, and then working at night, doing it. A lot of times the manufacturers are overseas. So there were elements of it that made it make sense and I could manage it. And then my job, I got a promotion and work started to get busier. And I realized like, okay, eventually HR is going to see this in Oprah Magazine and call me in and go, how are you managing your day job and this? And so I started to get more, I never talked about it at work. Like it just never came up. I never mentioned it. But when I got ready to leave, people were like, you have a whole company? Like, how have we not known this? And I was like, I mean, it was out there. I just didn't talk about it to you guys. So it was one of those things where once I got the promotion, I knew I couldn't focus on the business and do that. And so the workload was much larger. And so I knew if I wanted to grow and scale the business, I had to leave and I had to work on the business full time. And I always say this because I think it's really important. I am grateful that I had a partner, a spouse who encouraged me, okay, you should quit your job and work on this full time. And he saw the opportunities and he saw where we could grow and how we could scale the business. But I also, it's not lost on me, that's not everybody's entrepreneur story. There are people who are single entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs. They don't have a co-founder or a husband that's like has insurance and it's like, quit your job, do it full time. We can work on one salary. So that's not lost on me that my story is not everyone's story or the norm, but it allowed me to grow and rambling out.
They say that's the best way to, and the scenario like that is the best way to start it. Because I mean, a lot of people I think realize that when Jeff Bezos started Amazon, we're living off his wife's salary.
Yeah.
And she encouraged him,
which is why she got what she got when they
Yes.
got a divorce.
and she encouraged
Bingo.
him to.
Well, and I mean, there is immense privilege in that, right? Especially you have a family, you have children, you have another child, like as you're growing the business, right? Like insurance is a big deal. Having income is a big deal. So
Yeah.
obviously that's really important. But I think one of the things that stuck with me that you just said was that ideas have expiration dates. And I think too many people have amazing ideas, and really what sets people apart that have ideas are the people who just go for it, right? Like you were like,
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. It's not going to be perfect. I'm going to make mistakes, but I have to put it out in the world. And even with the podcast, right? Like if you listen to our episodes now versus our first 10 episodes, you will hear an immense difference, right? But we were like, we have something to say. We know this is going to be fun and exciting and people will want to listen. We're talking to our age group, right? Like the elder millennial. We're navigating life in a totally different way. Let's just go for it. And I think what's really exciting is that people who have been around, and I'm sure you can attest to this from the very beginning, see your growth and they see you getting better and they see you leveling up and they celebrate it with you. And the people who bought your first piece of wrapping paper off of that first pallet are still supporting you to this day, I'm sure, and saying, wow, the quality has changed. There's more options now than before, right? You said you started with 2 SKUs. I know you have way more than that now. And so I think there's something to be said for just going for it, understanding it's not going to be perfect, but you can't just let awesome ideas live in your head and die there too. You know, some of them
So
deserve
true.
to be out in the world. So,
I
yeah.
agree.
So what happened with the 2 pallets of wrapping paper? Did you have a plan of where you were going to sell them? Was it like, hey, neighborhood, you know, like, look at this wrapping paper, or what?
But they hit them door to door like she did
Right,
in
the Girl Scout
Girl Scout
cookies.
days.
Girl Scout cookies.
What
So
was
it's
the plan
funny.
for the
So,
pallets?
so before the pallets arrived, I had samples. And this is a funny story. Jessica, my neighbor, so we lived in a neighborhood, but my neighbor behind me, it was a new development, so there weren't a lot of trees. I put my Christmas tree up in July. We were taking promo shots for some of the products, right? So I could get ready. So my tree was up in July, and she called me and she said, "Are you okay? Your tree is up. I can see it through your window." And I was like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm just, working on a project." And I was like, "Bye." Click. So I didn't mention it to anybody. And then comes October, I had a sorority sister she's like an Emmy Award winning producer, works in DC for a news station. She's amazing, an awesome storyteller. She created this About Us video that really explained and told the story of how and why I was starting this business and the need for it. And it had my son in it. It showed the product. And it was done in such an amazing, magical way because she's a rock star that when we posted it online, I don't want to say it went viral, but a lot of people saw it and shared. Okay. And then they went to our website and started to buy. And this is in early October. So from there, it just kind of spiraled, and we were shipping orders at night in our garage, like me, a card table, a laser printer, and some tape and some. And I did that every day after work. My aunt would come over, my aunt Cindy would come over and watch my son or help me pack while my mom would watch my son. And Sean would come home, and we all would just orders at night until we ran out of orders to fill or we were exhausted. And we did that for a few weeks. And then I was like, okay, Black Friday's coming up. The first 2 days of orders were people I knew, and now I don't know any of these people, and the orders are increasing. But we're going to need some help. And this is bigger than I can do on my life. So we did a quick tour, 4 fulfillment companies in Raleigh, picked one, had a moving truck take our pallets to the warehouse, and then they shipped our stuff for the rest of the season. So we quickly realized we had to hire somebody to do that part of the business. And that was year 1.
So that seemed like it happened fast.
Yeah.
It did. It did happen fast.
Can we talk about the numbers?
We talk about the numbers.
What did you, assuming, and any of this, if it's assuming you were funding this yourself, right? The
Yes.
first 2 pallets, the website, everything was your hard-earned money. And then what did you make off of the first batch of orders?
So the first batch of orders, that first year, we were a little under $100,000. And the orders, we showed a profit, but it was there was a lot, we self-funded. So there were a lot of, starting business expenses that were, setting up your LLC, legal contract, fulfillment company. So there were a lot of first-time fees that added up, and it was just me. So I wasn't taking on any salary. It was all the money was going right back into the business. And so that was year 1 for us. So it was exciting to see this idea, selling something online, hearing my phone go ding, ding. That part was all super amazing. And that year, it was there. Entrepreneurship is like, this is amazing. Oh my God, what the hell am I doing? Oh my God, this is amazing. Oh my God, what the hell am I doing? So that point was all like, year 2 is when I was like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing?
You're like, why did I quit my corporate job and my promotion and my benefits to do this?
Yeah, I didn't quit my job really until 2020, before the pandemic.
Wow. So for 3 years or longer,
I was double dutching.
So I wrote 2 children's books, one in 2020 and one in 2021. And I was running back and forth to the post office after work. I was stuffing the book into the envelope. Same thing. When I got the laser printer, I felt like I had up-leveled my life. Okay.
I
Game
would drop the kids off.
changer.
I drop the kids
It's a
off
game
and drop all
changer.
packages.
And I'd be like, here, take these packages. I mean, like the first batch, I remember taking like the beach wagon and filling and, loading, unloading and going to the post office. And oh my gosh, it's so exhausting. And it is 100% not sustainable. And I was nowhere
Yeah.
near the level of shipments that you were doing. So I'm glad that you outsourced and realized very quickly that you needed to get some help because it is exhausting. And then same thing, doing the website, making sure that your inventory is correct. I mean, trying to do social media. I mean, it's a billion jobs in one, and it's so
Oh, it totally is. I'm like, I'm
fickle.
a firefighter today. Today I'm looking for freight. Today I'm trying to find a truck. I'm doing a pallet tomorrow. I'm doing cartons today. I'm a photographer. Now I'm trying to do customer service. It is literally,
It's all the
and it's
things.
your
Yeah,
baby.
when you
And the
first
business
started
is
out, you
your
were not every single.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, and you don't want anybody upset. You want everybody happy. You want everybody to get their product on time. And you want no one to call your baby ugly, right? Like, that's what I always like to say. You want anybody to call your baby ugly. You want everybody happy. So it's like all of these emotions and you're all over the place. So getting rid of customer service has probably been the best highlight was when I was able to get rid of that.
Customer
'Cause
service.
those people will drive you back crazy, okay?
Yes. Well, and you can't please everybody, right? Even the best and biggest brands have complaints. And so that's not something
Oh,
that
yeah.
you can manage day in and day out. What do you feel like you wish you would have known sooner in those early stages? Like if you could go back in hindsight, what would you have fixed or changed?
Year 2, we took our fulfillment out of state. I would never do that again. Anybody who's going to a direct-to-consumer business, you want to have your fulfillment, your shipping. Fulfillment's people who are packing your orders for you, your pick, pack, and ship, your 3PL, to be in your backyard. You're going to be able to go touch it, see it, check on it, confirm everything's okay. And that was a big learning for us. You don't know what you don't know. And it almost was a detriment to the business in year 2. The company we hired was being acquired by another company in the midst of the holiday season. And so our orders were being packed by somebody we didn't even know or another company. And it wasn't. So that would be the first thing. Also, I would say this is a finance podcast, right? So
Yep.
having people in place and understanding, all of the inner workings, the cost of it, what it's going to cost, adding some cushion in. Those are all things that you need to start with good sound fundamentals. If your business operations are strong in the beginning, you can grow and sustain it. Understanding, if you're looking for fulfillment, if you're looking for a manufacturer, that they can grow and scale with you. And that you have the biggest thing I would say the pandemic is there are things you can't control. There's like if there's a pandemic and there's no more plastic or you can't get cardboard, having backup manufacturers and suppliers to help you when those challenges come up. And always looking ahead at what opportunities are there and can you sustain this because it'll save you a lot of headache later.
Would you say that it was I'm assuming the answer here, but I'm assuming that it would be very beneficial having your husband who kind of has the finance background to balance out your creativity. Because I know from my brief experience of working with creatives is that they see an idea and it's like the idea, and they sometimes have to be pulled back to actually bring it to fruition.
Yes, he pulls it back a lot. I will get off a call and be like, see? And he's like, how much is it going to cost? Is that profitable? Are people buying that? Are you sure? Have you done any research behind that? He will just slowly put a pin in my balloon and it would go. But it's not in a very loving way. I don't want to say that he's the Grinch. He's not. But it's a good balance that we need and we have, and I'm grateful for it. But it's definitely, you don't need people that are all going to be like, yes, yes, yes. You need some people that are going to say, no, slow down. Are you sure? And that is what we do. We are 2 totally different personalities. And going in business with your spouse can be it can be great or it can be really, really bad. I have had to learn how and when to communicate with my co-founder and what is the best time. Because I wake up at 6 in the morning, 5:45, 6 in the morning. And as soon as my feet hit the ground, I'm like, did you see that email? Did you check this? what about that? Have you thought about this? What do you think about that contract? Do you think we should do this? What do you think about these margins? And he's like, I literally just roll over. Like, how are we talking? Then he wants to talk about it at 10 and 11. We have done carpool, homework, dinner, talk, bath, bed. I'm ready to go to sleep. So we've had to figure out how to communicate, when to communicate, and what each other's communications are. And that has helped us a lot. That and, 13 years of marriage. I've known him over 20. So that there is how we made it work.
That's a great call out for anybody in a relationship, though. It's not what you're saying, it's how and when you're saying it. And Brandon says this all the time. Like, I'm like you, Jackie, just like boom, boom, rattle it off. But I also do that before bed because, us moms, right? The mom brain of like the never ending to-do list. I'm like, what about this? Did we email the teacher? What about?
And I'm ready to go to bed.
And he's like,
you're ready to go to bed. You're like, done.
And and he's done. So like, even though I have not changed my ways for that, maybe one day I will. But it's such a great
for you, Brand.
It's okay. Sometimes I just ignore it. It's time to bed.
Yeah, and then I'll have to repeat it in the morning. So yeah. Let's talk about all the success that you've had and the accolades. Oh, Oprah Magazine, Essence. I feel like there was something about a Beyonce grant or fund at one point. Was it the Beehive that you? Yeah, that wasn't even in your bio, but I know things. How do you feel about all the excitement and the buzz and the people celebrating what you've done? Let's get into all.
They are wonderful. It is exciting. But in entrepreneurship, you're so focused on the next thing. A lot of times, if you ask entrepreneurs that has success, they can't even focus on the wins because they're too busy trying to either put out a fire or the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And the next thing, it may not be like a press release or a Beyonce grant or Oprah, but it's just like, but I got to do this thing so I can keep going and keep growing it. But I will tell you, the Oprah thing was so exciting. We were in the Oprah Magazine, the December issue. We were not favorite things, but we got a phone call, and Gail and Adam from O Magazine were kind enough to feature us and called us. It was Halloween night, 2017. I'll never forget it. And I literally just like laid out in the floor, screaming. That Oprah Magazine and Gail King and Adam and Oprah knew about Clarence Claus, and Oprah had our stuff at her house in Hawaii for Christmas. So that was super exciting. Oh my son didn't understand it. It was so funny with the Beyonce one. He was too young to even understand that one. But with Beyonce, he was old enough to understand. And we were home alone, and I like check my email. I see this thing. I'm like reading it, rereading it, and I'm reading it. And then I just start screaming. And he's playing with his Nintendo Switch on the floor beside me. He's just like, I'm like, Beyonce knows about her. We got picked. Mommy got money from Beyonce. We got a grant. We're going to be on the Blackbird. And he was like, cool story. Like, can I have a snack? Like, did not care. So
kids will kill your vibe so fast. It's not even fair.
They keep us humble. Humble. So, yeah, he's kept me humble, but we've had some great opportunities. The Beyonce grant, we've got over $250,000 in grant.
That's amazing.
FedEx gave us a grant. Google, Black Founders Fund, we got $100,000 in non-dilutive funding. What is some other ones? I Fund Women, Boss Women Media. We've just been really fortunate. If there's a grant out there, I'm applying for it. And if there's some free money, I want to.
And
I love that.
I'm glad that you touched on that point, because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs don't actually think of that route for funding.
Yeah.
So like entrepreneurs out there are grants out there that are available to you that you can apply for that'll obviously help with operation and stuff like that, expenses.
They will. And the hardest part about it is there's so many grants, and I share them with people all the time. People don't want to sit down and do the work. And that's the hardest part of it is sitting down, typing up the grant, doing the applications, answering questions, meeting the deadline, recording that 1 minute, 30-second video. They all want a different recording. And that's where the work is. A lot of people don't want to do the work, but they want the money. So, and I share them all the time, and people are like, oh, yeah, I didn't apply. I didn't have time. But you get all the money. Well, I'm applying. I'm making the time. So if there's money there, some of it I feel like is drying up. There were a lot more during the pandemic, but there's still grants and opportunities out there. You just have to look for them and make the time.
Are you personally filling out all the applications, or have you had a
Yes.
chance to hire a
It was
grant writer at this point?
no, I have no grant writer, and I am not. Listen, I don't enjoy writing. It is not personal ministry. Okay, I don't enjoy it, but I do it. I've gotten better. I have learned how to tell my story, what they're looking for, how to tell it in a way. And I think it comes from, even if you don't get them, there's a lot we've applied for that we did not get. Okay, we have been told no a lot. But I think the key is going back to some of these grants or applications after the fact and saying, hey, what stood out? Why was this a no? Can you give me feedback? And understanding how to edit and adjust to help you get your story across in a unique way that the judges or whoever is looking at it can understand what and why and how. And they also know that you're going to be a good steward of them.
Yeah, I think that's so important, right? For anybody listening, asking for feedback, no matter what it is that you're doing, find out why it was a no. And then also recognizing that you still put yourself out there. They now know your name. They've looked over your things. A no right now doesn't mean a permanent no forever, because we've heard a ton of stories where it was a no in the moment and then some opportunity comes up and they're like, oh, remember that person? We can now reach out to them and offer them X, Y, and Z, right? So you don't want to burn those bridges. You want to take the mature road and say, what was it? Where could I have improved? What can I be doing better or thinking about for next time? So I think that's a really mature step that a lot of people miss, not only in their entrepreneurial journey, but also, if you're applying to work at a corporation, right? Like, ask the recruiter, ask the hiring manager, where do you think I need to fill the gaps or level up? Or what was it that gave you pause or, isn't allowing me to move forward with this opportunity at this time? So I think that's wonderful that you're doing that. And congratulations for the money that you have been able to get.
And it's also just being able to take a step back and not getting your feelings feel like attacking you personally.
That's a hard part. And that, like I said earlier, nobody wants to hear their baby's ugly. Nobody wants to hear their business sucks. So you got to get comfortable with that. And everybody doesn't receive feedback. I have learned sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's really uncomfortable. Sometimes it's like, ugh. But it's true. It's like, but what are you going to do about it? And do you really want to make this grow, or do you want to just do what you're doing and have no success or have any change? So you have to be also willing and ready to receive the feedback when you ask for it.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. I feel like you can tell me, but I feel like Target is like the holy grail of like where you want to be, right? Anybody who has a product, it's like, get that product into Target. And you are in Target.
You can't tell she loves Target.
I do love Target.
The Red Dot Boutique, honey. I love it. That's kind of when I feel like my kid, that was the blue check for my children. That was when mommy's business was legit. Now, mind you, this was years after the business had been launched. We had great success. We had done some pretty cool stuff. Our product had been featured on ESPN's Get Up. Like, we had some moments. None of that mattered to my. But when they could go in that store and see mommy's face and the product and our logo on the shelf, that made it very real to them. And once again, they keep us humble, okay? So that was the moment where my kids were like, this is legit, and they wanted to tell people about the business. But I'm like, well, why didn't y'all want to talk about this before? But yeah, retail is amazing. Target's a great partner, but I will tell you this. Retail is hard. It's hard as hell. And I think people see it and think, oh, once you get there, you've done it. No, once you get there, you have to actually sell the product, and it has to leave the shelf, because they want to know that not only you have a cool product, do people want it, and do they want to buy it, and it's not going to be stuck in the back room. And there's so many moving parts of retail, the cost, making sure you have all your certifications, making sure your product has been tested, the cost to play, insurance. There's so many moving parts. And I think people see it and go, oh my gosh, you have arrived. But no, that's really just the beginning, because you've got to sell the product. And I think people should look at it more as a marketing tool for your business as opposed to the end all be all. Because once it gets there, you still have to do the work to get people to the stores to buy it. So not to scare, but to just make people realize there's a lot of moving parts to get in retail, stay in retail, and be profitable.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things are way more complicated than most people think they are. They see the nice little end result and they think that, it must not be that difficult. When in reality, there's years of hard
Blood,
work,
sweat, and tears.
years of trying to understand the business and stuff of that nature. So
Yeah.
We
How
talked
did
to retailers years in advance before our product ever got on the shelf. And I think that's it. Instagram, social media has made people think it is glorified and make it look sexy. And not to say it's because there are sexy moments to it, but it's a lot of work. And people think it's just an overnight thing. And
that's the
Mhm.
thing that, that's one of the reasons why we started the podcast. I would always be talking to Jess about, different things. And she's like, "Oh, you should make that a social media post." And I'm like, I like the aspect of social media being able to get information out to the masses that they probably didn't have access to before. But then also, I don't like the fact that they try to make everything, like I said, things sexy and simplistic, and that one rule applies to everybody. I'm like, that's not how finance works. That's why it's called personal finance. Like, it's a lot more difficult than what people think, and it's much more individual. And I need a longer format, because most of the time when someone asks me a question, I'm like, it depends. 10 questions I got to ask.
right.
So I like the
Mhm.
fact that, how you pointed
That's
that,
so true.
that they just see the end result, and so much of social media is just the positive, the pretty stuff that happens, the hard stuff that goes in behind the scenes.
So true. So true.
Well, everybody wants the quick win, right? Everybody wants to take the elevator up to success. Nobody's willing to take the stairs. And when you actually dig in to stories like yours, Jackie, you're schlepping up the stairs, right? And then you're going back down 10 stairs, and then you're tumbling down the stairs, and then you're going back up 4 more stairs. And it's like, that's the messy stuff that people don't want to learn about or invest in, because everybody's looking for that instant gratification, the quick win, and like the overnight success. And I mean, we've read all the books and listened to all the podcasts, and we know there's millions more out there where people are like, oh, yeah, my 20-year overnight success, right? You see the blip of the glamour, and you didn't know the 20 years of grind that got me here,
Yes.
So
It's so true.
yeah. Talk to us about how you learned all of the things that you just mentioned about, for example, getting on the Target shelves. Is there a course you can take? Is it just making all the mistakes and figuring it out on the back end? What does that look like?
You mentioned courses. I would like to take this time to say there are a lot of people on the World Wide Web selling courses and classes and haven't done
Everybody
any
has
of
a
the work.
course
Everybody has a course. Okay. Be mindful. Sometimes you just got to do the work. They're telling you that they can, in 6 courses for 7 easy payments, you
of
too could be a
$9.99.
billionaire. Like, be mindful of these courses, people. I didn't pay for any courses, workshops. It's not about going to a women's empowerment conference. Those are great, but you can go listen to 1,000 speakers. You still have to do the work. For us and for me, it was a lot of my background was in CPG, consumer packaged goods. I had worked at Nestle and Mars Wrigley for over 13 years in both companies, and not at the same time. But I was a account manager, and so I called on even though people are doing that now. A lot of people work 2 jobs, 2 different companies. But I was a retail account manager. I called on large stores and small stores, and I went in and I sold to their corporate buyers. And when you would go in and buy candy at the store, there was a promotion or sale, it was because I had sold it at the corporate level. And so I did that for a long time. I so understood how buyers work, understood how product got from our warehouse to their warehouse, on the freight, on the truck, the orders, the forecasting, just the cost to do business, the shelf, the sliding allotment, new item forms, how to set it up, how items get deleted, Nielsen, ARI, Scantron data, IRI, and all the scan data. So all of that was very helpful with helping me with understanding the business side, the retail side of the business. Even though we didn't start there, it helped me understand like the product, the descriptions, all how it needs to be on the site. So a lot of my background there translated really well. But there were still parts of it you don't know. So, but yeah, that definitely gave me hit.
It's like
A
what I
leg
hear
up,
there
I
is
guess.
like you took the skills from your quote unquote 9 to 5 and applied them to your hustle, which obviously became what it is today.
Yes.
That's why I always say, like, when people are starting a side hustle, like, what are you currently good at? Like, what skills within your job can you apply to create a side hustle that's going to, that becomes profitable? Makes
Yeah.
this the easiest. To me, people want to start things that are like completely like they have no, type of like background in it whatsoever, and no understanding. I'm like, cool, you can do that, but it's going to be a much larger learning curve.
Yes. For certain.
What is next for Greentop? You've added SKUs. You're no longer just, I don't want to say just, but you are building out all of the things available under Greentop. So what is next? And I want to know, where did the name Greentop Gifts come from?
Okay. I'll come to that one second because that's easy
Okay.
for me to go through. What's next for us is we are expanding our licensed products with the NFLPA. We are also in Target for the holiday season on Target.com with our family pajamas. We have
They're so
wrap and
cute.
new bags on Target.com. So you can check those out. We even have pet bandanas to the whole family. We have plus size, big and tall, baby, infant, toddler, women, and men. We got everybody covered.
Yeah.
We
So
are
can I buy that
size
hat online?
inclusive this year.
I know the hat is so cute.
This
Can we buy your
hat we have on our website. The hat
Oh,
you can buy is on our website. And it comes in khaki and black. And it has Clarence
Cute.
Claus on it. Greentop. The way we came about the name Greentop is my grandfather. My parents are old, okay? So my grandfather had a restaurant bar in the 40s called Greentop, and it was a source of celebration in our community. And it was my family's, I would say, first start in entrepreneurship. So thank you so much to them and to my dad and my grandfather, because it was my grandfather's restaurant. My dad shined shoes there as a kid. And then he started to outsource and let somebody else on the shoes, and he would split the money with them. But they used his
Wow.
shoe shining kit.
so you just have a generation upon generation of entrepreneurs.
I love it.
I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. My dad did a lot of different entrepreneur things. He was a school photographer for over 40 years. He had residential real estate. And he was just a jack of all trades. And so I saw entrepreneurship very early from my father in all different ways. He took me to, the court when he was evicting people. He took me to city hall meetings when he was trying to get clearance and for new properties and buildings. And so I feel like I got to see it firsthand up and close, all the moving inner working pieces, good and bad, stressing and things, and seeing him at night before he go to bed, write down his to-do list for the next day to get it all brained up, all in his head. So that is how we came up with the name Greentop.
I love that. I love that you said a source of celebration for our community, because I feel like that's exactly what you've done with Clarence Claus. Also, shout out, I don't know if other people do this, but I started it when we had kids. Both kids get their own wrapping paper. So I don't have to
Okay.
label it with their name, right? Like they know, I'll say like, Roman, this is your wrapping, and Aston, this is your wrapping. But I love that you have matching bags with the wrapping paper. So everything coordinates, which I think obviously is super intentional. But for people who wrap in the holidays like I do, it makes it even easier, because some of those things I'm not wrapping in paper. It's just too many angles and bumps and, all the trucks and things. I'm not doing it. So that is going to go in a bag, but it can still all coordinate, which I absolutely love. And shout out to you. But when I was looking at the jammies online, girl, you about to sell out. So I'm going to need them to restock. Okay.
All right. Good to know.
Yes. Yes. So that's good. There was limited quantities available, which I was like, you go, girl.
All right.
Yeah, that's good.
I was going to say, like, for some people that maybe are listening and don't, kind of have a full understanding of why we are embracing this, is because representation is so meaningful. And if you're part of a demographic that's always been represented, you don't really get it, because it's been
You've
your
always
norm.
seen yourself.
Growing
That's
up, I didn't see myself or look like me, and, Christmas stuff, cartoons on TV, books that we would read, TV shows we would watch. So like, to be able to see yourself represented I can't even like begin to explain how amazing that is. So for example, like, I remember getting into watching tennis when Venus and Serena started,
Mm-hmm.
because nobody
Yep.
else really looked like us that played tennis. And what was really kind of like full circle for us is that we were watching with our son and our daughter, watching Coco Golf win the US Open.
Mm.
And then probably a few days later, our son, just turned 4. A few days later, he saw her on a commercial that she had, and he was like, Coco Golf. I was like, you remember her name or like that? And like, I don't think he would have had that same connection if she had been a different, race. So like being able to see yourself, it's just, like I said, I'm rambling, but like, it's just amazing.
No, I think you said it well. I always tell people you can't be what you can't see. It's so important for children to see at an early age. It's so important for children to see diverse images and see images that look like them, and hair textures, hair texture, skin color, eyes, gaps in the teeth, freckles, all different things. Kids can connect with it and relate. I think it's also important for children to see other images and other people with different skin tones and vitiligo, if they have a hijab, if they wear glasses, if they have freckles, because it lets you have a better understanding and appreciation for someone else. And you can empathize and understand, and it's not something that's foreign to you. When we first started the business, one of my neighbors was like, I never really noticed. And I was like, well, go home and look at your children's books and let me know about the diversity you see in your books. The next day she was like, well, our books have white kids in it. I was like, and so for
Yeah.
me, it's so important for our kids to see it. I'm so, like you said, I'm so intentional about the books that they read, the television shows they watch, the movies they watch, to make sure they see that representation. And I think we've come a long way, and you're seeing it more in, television and film, but there's always so much more room and opportunity there to make sure kids can see, oh, that family looks like my family. Oh, they have diversity. Oh, the mom is this, the dad is this, or they're two dads, they're two moms, whatever it is, they can connect and relate to it. And so we put a lot of thought behind our product to make sure our kids they may not say, I look identical to that character, but they can relate and connect something on one of those characters in their personal life.
Yeah. And the end goal is that
Yeah.
we get to a point where that's just the norm. That's the end
Yes.
goal, is where we get to the point where this is just the norm, where you see all different types of people represented and you don't even think about it because it's just common.
Yeah,
But
it's
we're
saturated.
but we're no longer
Mhm.
we're not there. And to really like also emphasize, this is not about, being exclusive of white people. This is
No.
embracing and being inclusive.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Jackie, we always like to leave our listeners with one final thought. It can be anything. It can be inspirational. It can be a lesson learned. You can take it in whatever direction you want to. But what would you like our listeners to know, or what would you like to leave them with today?
I would say that entrepreneurship is really hard. It is very rewarding. And if you require someone to cheer you on it every aspect of the way, it's probably not for you. But you need to find community and find other like-minded entrepreneurs that may not be in your field that you can connect with and bounce ideas off of. And I think that's been really key for me, is building your own little entrepreneurship community. And I think that's probably my biggest takeaway.
Great call out. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.